Et voilà, donc est-ce que vous pouvez vous asseoir pour 20 minutes, ce qui va vous permettre de digérer. Et ensuite, nous aurons les tracks collaboratifs. Donc les tracks collaboratifs, c'est trois tracks d'une heure qui seront dans les scènes 1. Donc la scène 1, c'est ici. La scène 2, c'est la scène qui est juste à côté. Et la scène 3, c'est la troisième derrière. Donc je vais vous demander de bien vouloir vous asseoir. Et puis c'est reparti. Si Benjamin peut m'aider à ramener les gens dans la salle, nous avons des chiens des Pyrénées prévus à cet effet qui mordillent les mollets. Bon, faut qu'on garde nos adhérents quand même parce que sinon on disparaît avec. Donc voilà. Donc je vous propose de vous asseoir. Je vous propose fermement de vous asseoir. Vous savez où sont les toilettes, on ne va pas revenir dessus. Et voilà, alors souvent, le BG, on nous demande si on a des Ragovin. Eh bien oui, on a un Jeff Ragovin. Et c'est le moment de l'écouter. Voilà, Stéphane Fourniss, tu peux t'asseoir, par exemple. Tu me rendrais service. Sans vous commander, vous pouvez vous asseoir ? Voilà, vous asseyez où vous voulez, et après, tout à l'heure, il y aura les tracks collaboratifs. Voilà, c'est parti. Je propose qu'on fasse intervenir Jeff. Jeff, please, would you come on stage with me? I know that you are an experienced professional, so it's an exercise that you've known for long, and you are very, very good at this. So, what are you going to tell us?
Well, we're going to watch a video first.
First, we are going to watch a video.
Yes.
Alors, so it's 20 past 2. It's 2:20, and let us go to 2:40. Okay, 20 minutes.
Les experts nous prédisent une
Sorry?
révolution depuis des
20
décennies.
minutes. Thank you very much.
Un monde où les clients ne seraient plus la proie des entreprises. N'auraient plus à endurer un service médiocre, des produits cassés, des attentes téléphoniques interminables, sans aucun recours possible. Aujourd'hui, cette révolution est enfin là. Bienvenue dans un monde où le client est toujours connecté, toujours mobile et s'impose vraiment. Les clients ont désormais leur mot à dire et n'hésitent pas à s'exprimer. Ils ont des attentes, ils ont des choix. Et si ces attentes ne sont pas comblées, les alternatives ne manquent pas. Ils peuvent faire entendre leur voix, aussi fort et aussi loin qu'ils le veulent. Pour les fidéliser, il faut bien plus qu'un simple programme. Il faut gagner leur confiance. Ne vous y trompez pas, il s'agit de révolutionner la confiance. Les clients sont plus que des numéros. Ce sont des êtres humains avec des besoins uniques. Ils attendent plus qu'un simple produit ou service de votre part. Ils recherchent une relation d'égal à égal, du donnant-donnant. Ils veulent être au centre de vos préoccupations et c'est là que vous devez les placer. Devenez une Customer Company. Disponible 24 heures sur 24, 7 jours sur 7. Peu importe où soient vos clients. Une Customer Company écoute tous ses clients sur tous les canaux. Une Customer Company connecte ses clients, ses employés, ses partenaires et ses produits. Une Customer Company sait que les conversations ne s'arrêtent jamais. Elle apprécie votre fidélité et le prouve. Elle crée des communautés. Respecte votre identité, votre vie privée et vos choix. Mais surtout, une Customer Company vous reconnaît, quel que soit le canal choisi. Une Customer Company transforme ses clients en ambassadeurs. En devenant une Customer Company, vous vous métamorphosez.
Is that long? think you will be more
Votre
interesting than
croissance
this
s'accélère
video. No?
grâce à une meilleure collaboration entre vos employés. Vous êtes plus compétitif. Vos contrats sont conclus plus vite en équipe. Vous écoutez vos clients et leur offrez un service unique. Vos données sont toujours à jour. Vos équipes sont performantes. Vous êtes sûr de vous, car vous utilisez des données fiables en temps réel. Et grâce au cloud, vous n'avez pas à vous soucier de l'innovation et des évolutions futures. Tout est intégré. Devenez une Customer Company.
Okay, I'm sure you will be much better than
Yes.
this video. It's
Yes.
really, it's not
I have a better
outstanding.
voice than that.
Yeah, you will be much better, I'm
Yes.
sure.
Well, thank you very much. It's great to be here. I speak English. I wish I spoke French, but I don't. So, bonjour. I'm Jeff Ragovin, co-founder of Buddy Media, which was acquired by Salesforce in the last year. And what we're going to be talking about today is this new disruption that's happening across social. Okay. If you want to follow along on Twitter, you could find me on there. It's Jeff Ragovin. It's very easy to find me, actually, on any social network. I took this picture the other day in the subway in New York City. And it was pretty interesting because we've come a long way in the last 7 years where we've got massive, major brands out there that are asking their customers to connect with them across social. So here's an example of KLM. And they literally say, this is on the subway in New York City, our social media team is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Right? So they're asking people to actually follow them on Twitter. And this is, while it might seem very simple, this is a major breakthrough because brands are starting to spend so much time and energy and money on investing in this new platform. So when we think about what's happening, this is a major statement, but the customer has now become the new marketer, right? We trust our friends, we trust our family, we trust the products that they tell us. So we have to think about our customers and what they're talking about across the social networks. So when we look at Facebook and we look at Twitter and we looked at LinkedIn and Foursquare, what are people actually doing today? And I use myself as an example here. How are we engaging, right? So you can see I actually, I had checked into the living room in the Maidstone in East Hampton, New York. It's a restaurant. And my friends were commenting, right? It was a really good meal, so I wanted my friends to know. Here's another example on Facebook. I happen to be a fan of the Boeing page. Boeing builds planes, but I also love to travel. And they were having a special for these Boeing windows. I know it's strange, but I like to collect things from airplanes. I bought 3 of them. And that's me. That's over the winter time. And I posted it to Facebook, and I said, hey, I got these 3 awesome windows, and I was going to build an art project out of it. And it was pretty interesting because there was about 60 engagements on Facebook alone of my friends saying, where did you get that? I know somebody who would love that, right? 63 engagements to be exact. So you could imagine why brands are flocking to Facebook and Twitter, because they're looking for people like me in particular that can actually persuade friends or showcase different products and different services. We recommend products. Here's Foursquare. Does anybody use Foursquare here? Yeah? Some people. Foursquare is great, right? You could check in anywhere, find out if there's a discount, what's good, what's bad, right? On the spot. We go to Twitter and we ask people, what's happening on Twitter? Is this product good? Is this product bad? I had the worst experience here. You can see here's a couple of examples that I actually tweeted. What's the best phone out there? I'm tired of Apple. I was having a moment with my iPhone, but that's past. I'm still with Apple. L'Occitane, right? Great brand. I was talking about the amazing customer service that I got in Rockefeller Center on the first day of spring. And here's another tweet where I was actually conversing with somebody else who was looking to buy an Eames chair through Herman Miller. And I had just said, hey, I just got one. Okay? So we're seeing this huge convergence of people using social to discover, to research, and make very important decisions. So I want to start moving into a couple of stories here. And many of you may have heard of some of these stories. Many of you have not. If you haven't, I hope you learned something today. The first story that we're going to talk about here was for Jim Beam and one of their brands, Maker's Mark. Any whiskey scotch drinkers here? Anybody drink Maker's Mark here? Like one. Did anybody hear the story that happened recently with Maker's Mark? Okay, good. Maybe you'll learn something today. So let me sum it up for you. Maker's Mark, which they're a spirit company, and whiskey is obviously one of their large products through Maker's Mark. They essentially were having a distribution problem. So in Germany and Australia, people were really, really drinking Maker's Mark quite a bit, that they couldn't produce enough of it for their customers. So Rob Samuels, who's the COO, he reached out to their most important customers, bartenders, you name it, whoever bought the product, and they basically said, there's a very high demand for our product. So we've made a decision, and we are going to lower the alcohol content volume of the product. All right, so basically what that means is we are going to water your product down so that more people can drink it. Well, if you're a big scotch drinker or you're a big whiskey drinker, you're probably not going to be happy about that, okay? So they made that announcement, and of course the media and the news outlets, they took it like bait, right? And essentially, here are some of the stories. Bourbon controversy, just add water, right? If you're spending a lot of money on a product, you're not going to be happy. So people were talking about this. They took it to Twitter. They took it to Facebook. The news was, they totally spread it really fast. And if you take a snapshot of what happened during the month of February, you can see here on the 8th, when they made this announcement that they were going to water down their product, people were going nuts. They were very unhappy. So what did they do, right? They went to Twitter. They went to Facebook. They went to email. They used all of the different channels that they could, and they made a very important decision, okay? They said, we heard you, and we know you're upset, and we're not going to water it down, right? We're going to retain the luxury of the product. We're going to retain, the original ACV. Okay? And then, of course, the news and the media reacted to that, right? Maker's Mark to restore alcohol content after customer backlash. So this was actually turned into a pretty positive story because they listened to their customers. And they listened to their customers by listening to what they were saying on Twitter and on Facebook. And this was pretty smart. They also bought paid advertising on Google and Yahoo and all those sites. So if somebody was actually looking for Maker's Mark, right, they actually replaced it with an ad, right? You spoke, we listened, and they want to drive them back to their site. If you look at the attention and the brand perception during that period, it's no surprise here, right? You can actually see that they got massive attention, but the actual value of the brand decreased dramatically, okay? If you also look at their financials, right, during that period, again, not a surprise, when they made that announcement, there was a huge dip as far as their stock value, right? And then once they made the announcement that they were going to retain the beverage, right, it went up again. So you can see how social has a huge impact on the value of a brand and how people are actually talking about that brand. So a couple of things that, it's not a surprise here, but you have to listen to your customers. right? If you're not listening to your customers, it's not a good idea. We have so many channels today for us to be able to listen very, very deeply, okay? Here's another story, and this is something that I brought up from the archives because it's a fascinating story, and it was for Mattel, which is a toy manufacturer. And if we go back a couple of years, okay, and we look at a page that was developed, it was called Beautiful and Bald Barbie. And this was not developed by Mattel. This was developed by two women. One of them who had a daughter who had cancer, and another one, who had friends who had cancer and cared for a number of different patients. The idea of what they were doing on Facebook was to create a page, right, that gave enough momentum to get Mattel, the toy manufacturer, to create a bald Barbie. So for kids out there that have cancer, they should be able to play with dolls that might be bald because of chemotherapy and other treatments. So when they launched this page, they had an incredible amount of engagement. So in just a few weeks, they actually grew to about 3,000 fans, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually attracted quite a bit of attention. So in New York, in all over the United States, ABC, NBC, they picked up on this, and it lifted the sentiment out there. So it lifted this so much that the page grew from 3,000 to hundreds of thousands of people. And you can see there were parents and there were families that they were uploading pictures of people that they knew that were kids that had cancer. And this sent so many shockwaves into the toy manufacturers, specifically Mattel, because they called them out, that a few months later, Mattel actually made an announcement. And the announcement was that they were actually going to produce a doll that was bald. And this is a huge undertaking because this is a major public company, right? You have to really think about revenues, you have to think about production costs, you have to think about all these different things. They were doing this to do good, okay? Really, really smart move. This was a statement that they'd actually put out there: play is vital to children, especially in difficult times, right? It's an emotional connection to their customers. This put Mattel up very, very high in the likes of their customers. Tons of news outlets reported on this, and they actually adapted to this change, right? Because there was such a huge swell of people talking about this that they had no choice but to make this doll. And if you actually look at their stock price, which is pretty amazing, can we make a correlation to social here? But up 62% since the movement started. Now, I would say that it's probably not just because of what they did with the doll, but the amount of consumer sentiment out there has increased dramatically. And if we look at this today, right, this is now 2 years later, they have 153,000 fans, and now they're targeting other manufacturers to also hop on the bandwagon to produce these dolls. So this is a very fascinating story on how social media alone helped get the attention of a national brand. Lululemon. Do you guys have Lululemon here? Yes. How many people have bought products from Lululemon? Raise your hands higher. A couple. Okay. So we'll make this quick. Lululemon is a brand that has essentially won the hearts and minds of their customers. They're all about community, they're all about working out, they're all about a luxurious product. In 2012 alone, they reported their net revenue per share 37% and 46% respectively. Okay. Incredible 5-year growth. In March, a couple months ago, they had a major recall. So they had black yoga pants, that you wear at the gym, and they became transparent, apparently. Yeah. So what did they do? They actually said, okay, we got to get all of these pants off the shelves because you can see through them. And if you look at some of the tweets out there on Twitter, these are people that I'm connected to, totally making fun of the brand. If I went to their Twitter page, this is the day that they recalled these pants. This is what they said. What's new? Vinyasa to Vino bag, Puri T short sleeve on the run, stash and dash pullover. Whatever the hell that means. Okay? They said nothing about the recall. They also had no information on their website other than, we're working on flexibility to bring you more products. Okay? Their stock really took a dive here. And it was incredible because it took a dive even more, and then over the last few months, it started rebounding again once they started to listen to their customers. And then in the last week, their CEO has actually resigned. She's leaving. So this is a pretty amazing story because all of this got out there through social. We only have a couple minutes left, so I'm just going to breeze through this. Citibank, a financial company, they're investing in social in a huge way. They literally have over 20 people that they have hired from a customer service perspective just to be on Twitter. Just on Twitter alone, answering questions. If you do a search on Twitter and you listen to some of the things that their customers are talking about, they are praising customer service. They're praising the teams. And this is a big turnaround for them because they weren't like this a few years ago. So pretty interesting stuff. Okay, last one here. We have a couple minutes. I know there's a bunch of folks here from L'Oreal, so this is actually talking about the Body Shop. And this is a really, I would say, probably one of the best brands to date that has used social in such a smart way. The Body Shop actually understands what people are actually sharing on their website, what people are purchasing. So they're understanding not just the insight that they're getting through analytics, but they're understanding the social insight. So where are people sharing products to? Is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? You can see here, this is just an example. If you're on their website and you go and you share a product, I'm showing it here from my Facebook page. It takes that product, publishes it out to Facebook, and they're tracking that, right? So how many people shared a specific product? How many people actually purchased that specific product? And you can see here some of the analytics, and this is just an example, but they could see their top products. They could see where people shared to. They could see, was it Facebook? Was it Twitter? Was it a website? One of the things that they actually found from this is that they had a product that people were sharing and purchasing like crazy, okay? And this was actually part of their hemp line. So they actually produced a lip gloss, a body wash, a hair wash with hemp. And one of the things that they actually did was they developed an entire landing page on their website that was social, okay, based on the insight that they collected on their users. So you can see people are, taking these social engagements of, what's your favorite hemp product? They launched this product line, by the way, on 420. If anybody knows what 420 is, you could look it up. And from a social media perspective with advertising, they already have hundreds of thousands of fans on Facebook. So they're using Facebook ads, and what they're doing is they're taking the product that worked the best, that they had the most information, and they're creating ads to the people who have already been fans of their page. So they're taking they're taking a product that they already know works, and they're putting it in front of their customers. They did this recently with another product. We're on the last two slides, by the way. They did this with another product around their absinthe lotions. You can see where they're going. Body Shop has a little bit of an edgier feel here, right? Hemp and absinthe. And the great thing about this is they're able to repeat by building this stuff and just popping in their different assets. More than happy to talk to you guys later about this if you want to come and ask for more details.
Thank you. I confirm that, Jeff, you are much more interesting than this video. I don't know why we display this video, because you are much more interesting.
I know, well, the video cut into my time.
Exactly. And it was empty. Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you very much. Thank you. Et maintenant, donc, nous allons nous séparer pour les 3 tracks de networking et d'échange. Donc ici, c'est scène 1, les dernières tendances en e-commerce. Ensuite, scène 2, c'est au milieu où on prend le café, la data au service du marketing et pas la data.